Hello everyone, and thank you for watching this presentation. This research, titled Crowdsourced Truth and Ideological Imbalance, the Case of Community Nodes, was conducted by Uxía Carral from Universidad Carlos III de Madrid and Cuartielles from Universidad Pompeu Fabra. Today, I'll be presenting our study, which explores how decentralized fact-checking works on X, formerly called Twitter, through the system known as community nodes, and what this tells about the truth, participation, and ideology in digital environments. Over the past decade, social media has profoundly transformed how information is produced and evaluated. Traditional journalism used to act as the main gatekeeper of truth. Now, verification is often distributed among users and sometimes even delegated to algorithms. Community nodes represent one of the most ambitious experiments in crowdsourced verification, as it allows users to attach contextual notes to posts that might contain misleading or incomplete information. The idea is that truth should emerge collectively through consensus across ideological divides, rather than from professional fact-checkers. This participatory vision sounds democratic, but it raises some key questions. Who actually participates? Are all ideological perspectives equally represented? And how is consensus defined when truth depends on collective voting rather than factual certainty? To sum up, does democratizing correction reduce or reproduce bias? This study examines how community nodes operate before consensus is reached. That is, while nodes are still being evaluated and not yet visible to the public. Looking at this consensus stage allows us to explore where asymmetries appear. For instance, which counts of posts attract more corrections, who is being corrected, what languages and sources dominate, and how ideological bias might emerge even before that algorithm decides what becomes public. The goal, the aim, is not to judge whether community nodes works well or poorly, but to understand the structural conditions under which this model of democratic fact-checking operates. To do this, we conducted a content analysis of all posts with pending nodes accessible to registered contributors to community nodes. As participants in the program, we could observe how notes are written, rated, and sourced before they are approved for publication. Each post was coded according to several variables. First, the topic. Second, whether it referred to political rivals. The author verification status, type of author, if it's individual or collective, for instance, language, presence of content like images or videos, number of nodes per post, and finally the type of source site. This descriptive approach captures the ecology of participation rather than testing statistical correlations. The aim was to map tendencies and imbalance in content, visibility, and ideological orientation. So, the key findings. The analysis reveals a system dominated by political content. Most pending nodes refer to government policies or ideological controversies, while, for instance, culture or science topics are rare. Political posts tend to receive more nodes and remain longer without consensus. The more divisive the content, the more corrective activity it attracts. But also, paradoxically, the harder it becomes to reach agreement. Verified accounts, and even if anonymous verified accounts, receive disproportionate attention. In contrast, anonymous users without verification are seldom corrected more than once. It suggests that visibility and symbolic capital strongly shape where collaborative verification happens. Linguistically, the dataset is heavily skewed toward English, followed then by Spanish. Other languages such as Catalan, Italian, French appear only marginal. This means that the supposed global openness of community nodes still reflects a limited linguistic base dominated by Anglophone and Hispanic users. Visually, a large share of posts contain images or videos, often combined with political commentary or humor. These multimodal posts generate more debate, multiple competing nodes, perhaps because visuals are more attractive or more ambiguous and persuasive than text alone, for instance. In terms of sourcing, anonymous and pseudo media outlets are the most frequent reference, followed by other online random famous profiles. However, the quality of sources is inconsistent. Any hyperlink can serve as evidence, including blogs or even other social media posts. This shows a fundamental tension. While the system promotes transparency and participation, at the same time, it does not enforce any professional standard of verification. Credibility becomes a matter of collective agreement, not methodological rigor. In discussion, all the patterns point to a deeper issue. In community notes, a correction becomes visible not because it is factually accurate, but because users from different ideological groups rate it as helpful. Truth, in this context, becomes a socially negotiated agreement rather than an empirical standard. Also, the platform's algorithm rewards cross-partisan consensus, but consensus is still shaped by who participates and by which nodes the algorithm allows each person to see as well. And this raises a paradox again. The system is designed to bridge ideological divides, yet it operates on an unequal epistemic base that reproduces the same asymmetries it aims to fix. So, what we can learn from this case? Community nodes expands the capacity for collective correction and encourage civil participation. When participation is uneven, the appearance of balance may hide underlying bias, but openness alone does not guarantee fairness. To truly democratize fact-checking, platforms need to not only transparency but also accountability, methodological rigor and inclusivity, ensuring that all voices and languages can contribute equally and that truth means more than just collective agreement. In short, community notes reveals both the promise and the fragility of crowdsourced truth. It reminds us the participation without equality may produce not deliberation, but new forms of digital imbalance. Thank you for your attention.